Today I'm working on my Fiero door because it's hanging low, and I'm working on the hinge, and the old one just blew apart. The bushings went out, and it takes these little bushings that look like this. They have a cap on one end, and I took the hinge that bolts to the car off, and this top one goes in from the top, the bottom one goes in from the bottom, and this is not an easy job to do. I've got the whole door jacked up by this holding it, and I don't have the bottom one taken off because this is really the only thing keeping the door from tipping over. But this is not an easy job, and if you decide to do it, have a lot of time. It's not a 10-minute thing. It would probably be better if I took the whole door completely off and started that way, but this has to go into the bottom hinge, or the door side from the bottom. The top goes in from the top, and that's what actually locates the door up and down. It actually hinges on this cap, so it's a bad design. I would rather see door hinges have bearings, but you know, it's rust bearing. But this is what we have, so it's what we gotta go with. I need to get these pressed in. If I can zoom that in for you. That has to get pressed in. I have the top one seated, and the way I did that was I used the old pin and stuck it in there. This is the old hinge pin. Buy new ones when you do this, because they do actually wear down. Those wear marks are actually thinner than than it was when it started. And I took out the retaining clip. These have a retaining clip that keeps them from backing out, and that's what it looks like. It's just added. So what I did was I ground it off so I could use it as a basically a wedge, or whatever you call it, to get in there and bang on it with a hammer. So I got that tapped in. I'll get the bottom one tapped up from the bottom, and then try to get this hinge back on, and then the pin goes up from the bottom on the top one. So here we go. I'll show you the reason why I removed that retaining catch from the old one. I'm going to take the bottom bushing, slip it over the pin, and then stick this whole thing up into the place where it's going to need to go, and then I'll get it to slide through the top portion there. Might have to change hands to do this. Alright, so I got that shoved up through to the bottom, and because that's in a line, I can hold that top portion and hit the bottom of the hinge pin with a hammer, and that bottom bushing will go straight in and be in perfect alignment with the top. So I'm going to grab the top of that just basically by putting side pressure on it with my thumb here, and since I don't have free hands, I'm going to reach in there with a hammer and tap that into place. I ground about a 1/4 inch off the top of this hinge pin, because as I was putting it, the other piece in, I don't know if you can see it, you probably can't, but right in here is a thing that it will hit as it comes through the top, so you can't really see it. But anyway, the pin needed to be shorter so that I could knock the bottom one to its fully seated position. Also, when you're putting your hinges back in, it helps to have a ratchet wrench, kind that has the built-in ratchet for it, because you kind of need that to be a straight line, and it'd be a pain in the butt to do it with a traditional boxed end wrench. It'd be very slow. Also, if you drop one of these screws, it'll hit this boot here and then fall clear back into the fender, at which case you need to go and remove these 3 screws in your wheel well liner, and that'll pull forward, and then you can reach back in there and retrieve them, which I had to do twice now. So I'm going to wait until I get these battened all the way back down before I put the screws back in. So I thought this would be a little 10-minute job, super easy. But, you know, Murphy's Law, everything is harder than it looks. Everything takes longer than you think. And the third law, if you want to estimate the price, you figure out what you think it'll be, double it and add 50%. But also, another thing I did was I greased the top of those bushings where they actually enter the door hinge, and then I'm going to grease the new pin before I put it back in. These holes that are the bushing holes, they're already greased. I shoved some in there, but I'm going to grease everything because I don't want to do this again very soon. It's kind of a pain in the butt. So I know I probably should be wearing gloves for this, but I'm not. I'll bet I live. The hinge pin hammered back up in place. Nice. I didn't even have to replace the bottom one. I'm going to pick this up and see if it doesn't jiggle it. Now that bottom pin's, I just lifted this whole door to see if it had any play in the bottom hinge. I'd feel it. It's tight, so I don't see the point in replacing the bottom one because it wasn't the broken one anyway. The top hinge on this door was messed up, so I'm gonna call it good. I don't need to work on this anymore to have it right because the door hangs in the right place. It closes properly for the first time in years, and I'm not afraid about my door mechanism breaking anymore. But you can tell it's been doing this for a while because it's kind of cutting a groove in this doorpost. So I might replace this. You can see where it's taken the paint off that. I haven't done any favors by trying to lift up on the door as I closed it, but it's right now, so I don't even have to slam it. That's perfect. So if you decide to do this, probably shouldn't. It's a pain, but it's not so bad. If you have some patience and a jack, you'll get it done. I did it with a hammer, what did I use? A hammer, a pair of snap-on. Yeah, why wouldn't that happen? Anyway, that's all for today. I'm gonna still call it a win. Talk to y'all later.